If I'm honest, it's been a while since I looked in Corsair's direction for a mouse, like many years. The last one I mained from them for any length of time at all was the M65 RGB Pro from way back in 2016. They have this tendency to fall short in one or two departments and generally just kind of feel behind the industry as a whole. I don't do a lot of videos on them. But today I've got the Sabre V2 Pro Ultralight Wireless. I've spent a lot of time with this and I definitely feel like it's worth taking a look at. At a glance, this ticks all the boxes we normally look for in a performance mouse. Big points here, it's a small to medium size, it's got 8K polling, it's got decent battery life at 70 hours, it has a web-based configurator, and it's advertised at 36 grams. It actually beats that on my scale, feet and all, and it's a solid shell top and bottom, and right at $100, it's a pretty refreshing price given what we've been seeing at the top end. Interestingly, this mouse was codenamed Jerry, which I personally think is a way cooler name than Sabre V2, but I definitely noticed and appreciate that the packaging feels more mature than some of the edgelord gamer stuff we've seen from Corsair in the past. Throughout the video today, you'll also see one of their new keyboards, the Vanguard Pro 96. It's Hall effect. I'm liking it a lot too, and I'll give it a full review here in a couple weeks. So for dimensions, we're looking at around 119 millimeters long, 63 millimeters wide, and 38 millimeters high. Here it is next to some of the usual suspects you'll see on my desk, so it's definitely on the smaller side. Size-wise, the length lands it really close to the size 1 Pulsar stuff. Shape-wise, the peak of the hump occurs right in the center, and that height spec of 38 millimeters puts it right there with something like the ULX Medium or the Pulsar X2 size 2. So it's taller than I would expect, and it feels just a touch narrower than like the X2H or the Viper V3 Pro due to the sides angling in pretty aggressively as you move toward the bottom plate. The flare at the rear isn't super exaggerated, but it's just enough room to find a solid anchor point for my pinky, so my grip here is very repeatable and consistent. Really low front height too. I like the shape. With a hand measurement of 20.5 by 10.5 centimeters, this is almost exclusively a fingertip grip for me, but those of you with smaller hands will probably find it solid for claw grip. Decent set of inclusions in the box too. You have the dongle with the mouse pad clip, the cable, a full set of grips, and alternate large glides with an extra glide for the sensor. The included glides aren't super fast, but there's loads of room under here if you want to do dots, which I prefer for these ultralight mice when I'm using them in fingertip, especially on a control pad like the lethal Jupiter Pro, which I've been maining for months now. First impression of the build, it feels on the cheap side, and that's almost 100% down to the combination of the insane lightweight and the texture of the plastic material they use. It's kind of hard to vocalize, but the plastic just feels soft. It's not rigid like something like the Crazy Light. The coating, or rather lack of coating, can cause this to feel pretty slippery, especially if you're cursed with sweaty palms. The grips are the way to go here for sure. From a sidewall standpoint, it's solid. To get flex, I have to intentionally really squeeze on it in a way that I wouldn't when playing. By now, you've probably all seen the screenshot of the top shell having a lot of give if you push your thumb directly into it. If you haven't, here's a quick dramatic reenactment. It's just funny to me. Of course they had to go with a thinner plastic to achieve this weight. There is zero use case for a mouse where you would push your thumb into the top shell with force. That's like me going out and pushing in the center of my car hood as hard as I can and then being shocked when it dents. Just don't do that. There's nothing here from a shell strength standpoint that would fail when using this gaming mouse as a gaming mouse. I mean, if anything, I have to commend them that they achieved a sub 36 gram weight with a solid top shell and bottom plate. Switches are Corsair's custom tuned tactile mechanical switches. The main triggers are decent, not my favorite. They don't feel quite as crisp as some of the other stuff I use, even some of the opticals. I think a lot of this comes from the triggers themselves. There is a minimal but noticeable bit of both pre and post travel on my copy. They're light and you can spam them easily. They just probably wouldn't be the first thing I reached for. It's too extreme to call them mushy. They're just not as crisp as some of my other options. Side buttons though, I feel like mushy is a fair assessment here. There's no pre-travel and the switches themselves feel good, but there is post-travel and a pretty large margin between the front and the rear. The rear button feels like it just keeps going into the shell, like the whole assembly that's bracing it is moving after the button bottoms out. If there was one area of opportunity for this mouse, I'd say it's the side buttons. The scroll wheel feels really good to me, really solid build, medium notch tactile, quiet too. The D-press is light enough to spam, not light enough to accidentally trigger it. I really like the scroll. So this mouse is not currently using iQ, it's using their web configurator web hub that we saw roll out with the Maker 75, and I'm very happy to see them continuing to roll this out with other peripherals. It's pretty Spartan in here for now. Key remapping, a macro manager, and a settings menu for firmware and polling rate selection. There's also DPI, of course. You can set up to 5 or as little as 1, and unlike some of the flagships, you're limited to steps of 50 here. And despite the lack of a physical DPI button, you can long press the right trigger and back button for 3 seconds, and it will cycle through whatever DPI presets you've selected in WebHub. Noticeably missing here is liftoff distance. That might be be a big one for some people. We also don't have some of the more bells and whistles features of modern flagships like sensor matching, rotational correction, auto polling rate adjust, etc. Though most of the time, especially in the case of Razer, that requires Synapse running full-time versus a lightweight web config. So yeah, as of now, no support in IQ for this mouse or the Vanguard keyboard. I understand that they've recently announced that they will add that in the future, but there's no set date yet. The sensor is what they're calling their Corsair Marksman S. It's rated up to 33,000 dpi. It caught my eye immediately that it's not centered on the body. It sits about 60% to the rear, which struck me as a little odd, but in game, it didn't seem to make any difference at all. There was no learning curve or adjustment period. Everything felt fine. This mouse feels very solid. No sensor issues at all, no wireless issues at all. I did run it at 8K for a good portion of the testing. No performance issues there, but it eats battery in 8K. It's rated up to 16 hours. 2000 Hz is still the sweet spot for performance gains versus battery life trade-off. Running at 1000 Hz will get you up to 70 hours. So there it is. Pretty quick one today. $100. It's more affordable than most anything in this performance class by a pretty wide margin too, and the weight is at the lowest end of what's out there. There's no Bluetooth here like you'd find on the Harp 2 Ace, which we'll check out pretty quick. The feature set's pretty thin compared to flagships from Logitech and Razer. The price is even beating Pulsar and stuff from WL Mouse. The feel of the build would raise some eyebrows for me at the $150 mark, but at $100 with this weight, this performance, the inclusions, and the web configurator, I'm impressed. If they manage to flesh out WebHub a little bit or add some features with the upcoming IQ support, that could close the feature gap pretty easy. And I like the shape. I think it's strong. I hear some rumors that this might see some more exotic materials in the future. That could be very interesting if true. And they need to work on that side button assembly, but okay, Corsair, I like the direction you're headed in here. I mean, outside of audio, they really haven't been in the conversation for peripherals in quite a while, but if they keep this up, they definitely will be. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Stay up.